Good evening. It's April 26th, Tuesday, the first working day of the week for me because my weekend is Sunday, Monday. And I am just now getting started. I intended to start a little earlier today, but whoa, my body was not having it. So I kind of freshened up. I sort of woke myself up and I'm about to get started now. One quick update that I should make is that since last Friday I made a stream on the 2018 April school day QAS. I've decided that for the sake of sustainability, I should just focus on the reading test for the next couple months. So I will be doing the SAT Solve Live reading tests throughout April and May, and for all the kids who are preparing for the May and June SATs. So I'll be doing the reading tests, but I will be skipping the writing test. Now, the writing test itself it's not that much energy for me, it doesn't take that much energy, but right at the end of a reading test, like fitting in a writing test stream has turned out to be pretty exhausting for me. It's been pretty tough. So I would rather conserve my energy so that I can properly stream 4 days a week from Tuesday to Friday, and sustainably have high quality streams every single day rather than force a writing section at the end and then just feel like I'm like dying like at the end of every night, that feeling of being like so tired. That's just not a great feeling to have after a stream. So I'd like to make it more sustainable and take it a little calmer. I will probably get around to doing the writing at some point, but actually I don't want to promise that up front because a lot of kids who are really struggling, I think a lot of you guys are finding me after going to academies, after doing other programs, and where you've been improving your writing and your math scores, but you haven't been improving your reading scores, and that's why you're finding these videos. So I think, actually maybe it's not really necessary for me to do the writing. I'm just thinking about that. Maybe not. So I don't want to promise up front, but what I know for sure is that right now I have viewers. I have some of you guys who are really benefiting from my tips for the reading. So it's good to hear that. I love hearing that. Thank you for everyone who shares what happens when you apply my ideas, my approach to your reading. And because I know that this is the current reality, I just want to work with that and focus on the reading. So those are my announcements for this, for the streams going on out. Now, I just realized I didn't share the link to the Discord server that I started the stream. So let me just update the Discord server that I've started. What's up, Joaquin? What's up? I'm about to get into the 2019 April school day reading test. Oh yeah. Were they literally dancing? That's literally a neighbor's kitchen, and there's no way to. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier because I saw them move around. I didn't see them dancing. That's pretty funny. I don't think I could solve that problem right now because it is going to be minorly distracting. Here, let me do a quick hack. This is not actually important, But I do feel like I need to I do need to at some point like solve it. So my quick and easy solution is alright, does that work? To the left, to the left. Right here. That's not amazing. Not amazing, but it's a partial solution. Yeah, I think that's the best I can do at the moment. What? Okay. Anyway, I'm not gonna obsess about it. Whatever. If people keep dancing, I'm not gonna notice because I don't see them. So it'd be hilarious though if that person turns out to be like a viewer. So then they start coordinating dances. I would totally, if I found out my own stream and I was like in someone else's stream, I would definitely bomb that stream like crazy. Anyway, I would just pray that this person behind me never finds out what my stream is. So super random. Yeah, I'm about to get into the reading test, and I will do it the usual rhythm. Okay, I'm going to read the passage once, then I'm going to stop the time, and do my summary. And when I do my summaries, the whole point is that you also should be doing your summaries to compare your summary with mine. Okay, so do yours. So we do the summaries. Then after that, I start the time again, and then I go into the questions. Okay, let me set up my stopwatch. Amaze, what's up? Did I say hi? I like mentally thought hi, but I don't know if I actually said it. But if I did, I'm just repeating myself. But hey, what's up, Amaze? Let's get into the reading passage one. Let me just make sure these. Okay, cool. I'm in the right page now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So, Book of Unknown Americans. That's kind of interesting. Unknown. Oops. Whoa. Yo. Hang on. Oh, I see. It's not selected. Unknown Americans. Oh, Chicharo. Have I seen this? Carried them over to Celia's apartment. Okay. By the way, Cristina Enriquez. So I'm thinking like a Hispanic immigrant family. Cuban immigrant family, something like that. Chicharrones, I'm thinking like immigrant families, clap their hands, motion. I'm spending too much time explaining. Foil cover play, these are for you. She's visiting Celia. I loved how full her home felt. Apparently, the narrator's home is not as full. Curio. Stacked with milk and recuerdos. I don't know what recuerdos are. Tablecloths, votives, pot, plants. Okay, sure. It's like right. It's lots of stuff. That's what we mean by full. Lots of garlic hanging. That's kind of interesting. Collection of spices. The great accumulation of things almost hid the cracks. Oh, it's not like an expensive house or anything. It's it's low income relatively. Mikasa, isn't that what the Americans say? Right. So Celia is an immigrant. Okay. So, Chicharrones, they're snacking. She's pulled together. Okay, she's made up. Unlike most of my friends at home, what is home? Which is home? Okay. They use nothing but soap, right? And aloe. So something about her. So interesting. Oh, whoa. Okay, interesting. Celia is an immigrant, but so is the narrator. So home is definitely back home. right? Back where where the narrator's from. Because Celia is teaching, talking about about this cold weather, about a place called Community House. Okay, I'm gonna Community House where they offer immigrant services. Okay, about Micho Alvarez, who claimed, Beniquinto studied to be a priest, was not a priest. Sense of sight. Okay, these are people in the building. I just lost track. In the building, we're talking about building people right now. The neighbors. Quisqueya. Okay. It's the most unnatural shit I've read. Raphael says that she dumped a pot of tomato sauce. Raphael is the who's Raphael? Okay, new guy. Okay, we just kind of we're trying to get her comfortable with these new neighbors that she has. The narrator has began telling me about when she and Raphael. Oh, Raphael's the husband, I see, and her boys come from Panama. Okay, so they're after the invasion, geopolitical context. So your son, he was born there. I asked. Okay, I have two boys. Both of them were born there. And there's Mayor. He's nothing like his brother. Rafa must be Raphael. Just a joke. Force a smile, just a joke. Weird. I don't know what the what's that vibe there? What's that mean? So Celia has a daughter, only a daughter, and we're finally shifting to the narrator. Finally, we're talking about the narrator. Oh, only her. Perspiration from the ice. Okay, I left the ring of water, and she's going to Evers. Ooh, interesting. What's this tension? To Evers. What this embarrassment and indignation? What is this? Okay. So finally we're getting a conflict here. She's gonna get better. Good school. Right. She's gonna get better. So there's some problem with the daughter. And then she changed the topic. Her hand on mine. Okay. 5 minutes and 5 seconds. Stop. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I just saw the freaking. Oh my God. I just saw the screen. I just saw my screen. This is a repeated problem. It's a repeated problem. I gotta think of a better. I wonder what I could do to make this not happen again. Because what I did last time this happened was I kind of changed the size of my streaming program on my screen so that I could be more obvious about it. But God, that is well, Joaquin, that's really important. I'm really glad you said that because that's really important to me to know. Because I actually have no idea what it's like to not be able to see the screen and to just follow along. So annoying. See, because that was my. I have read this before, but as you guys probably could tell, I didn't really remember what was happening. Like I was trying to figure this out. So maybe today might have been my second time reading it ever. I think. Okay. Jeez, so annoying. So I'm sad that I can't. Because the third time I read this and the fourth time I read this, if I do record it, it will never be the same as the first time or the second time I read it. So I really want to have it captured on video. So I feel really stupid whenever I miss it, but I missed it. So, but at least if you could follow along reading on the paper, at least that's the thing. God, it's so embarrassing. It's today. I'm just not feeling 100% today. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm just making mistakes. Amaze was asking, why did I start late today? It's I said it at the very beginning of the stream, but basically I was like super tired for some reason, and so I like passed out. Like I actually fell asleep at like 3:30, and then woke up at like 4:30 or 5 or something. And then even when I woke up, I still felt like out of it. So it took a while to get back into it. Okay, so I want to do a quick summary now. So the reason I do the summary is so that you can check, you viewers can check how well you read the passage versus how well Saul read the passage. Okay, so what you should be doing is, if you're watching this as a replay, you should stop the video and then come up with your own summary first, and then compare your summary with mine. Okay, here's mine. Let's go. So we have the narrator who doesn't have a name. I don't think it came out a single time. We have Celia, and actually, might as well list the characters. We have Celia, we have Rafael, and we have Mayor and Enriquez, I think, or something like that, okay? And Celia and Rafael are the parents of Enriquez and Mayor, okay? And then on top of that family, we have some bunch of names of people who live in the building, okay? So those are the characters. That's the cast. Let's get into the story. So from the top left to the top bottom left. Ooh, I don't know if I remember the bottom left, but anyway, starting from the top, what we have is Celia's house. So the narrator apparently has just immigrated to the United States, to a cold part of the United States. Okay, not to like Miami, and is bringing chicharrones over to Celia's house, and they will, by the end of the first column, they're gonna like snack together. But before that, we get this big long passage where we talk about how full the house is, and we find out at the very end of that description that it's actually it's not a nice house per se, right? There's like cracks in the walls or in the floors or something, right? But it has all of these things. And that's already, now that I'm summarizing, I'm realizing that's like that kind of symbolizes that she's stable. You know, she's built up her life in America, because you don't have a full house when you first move to a new city. Like even me, I'm living in my brother's house at the moment. I'm very minimalistic right now, right? Whereas my house in Korea is lots of stuff, you know. So it's actually a symbol of how long you've been there and how stable you are. That's just a bit of side commentary. You don't really need to know that, and that's not even in the passage itself. It's just something you can infer, okay? But Celia has a very full house, and they start chatting. Maybe they're drinking something, I don't remember that, but they're having the chicharrones and they're chatting. And we talk about Celia for the entire second column. Celia's from Panama. She came after like a war or something bad, but that comes at the very bottom of the column. What happens at the top? What happens at the top of the right column? I actually don't remember right now. Crazy. Oh, well, I don't remember the top, but the middle, I remember the middle. The middle is basically where we introduce all the people. Like at the top, we kind of learn that the narrator thinks that Celia is pretty different from the people back home. And I just realized what that is, right? The Americanized immigrant versus the, back home people, right? The locals back home, or like the friends and family back home, right? They express their fashion a little differently, right? The Americanized immigrant has very full lips or something like that, lipstick and perfume and whatever that was. I don't remember the details, but that's a contrast between home and America. And so then we got into Celia trying to tell the narrator about trying to acclimate, okay, or sort of orient her new neighbor to the resources, that there's like a community house, but also just to the people that are in the building, okay? And there's some characters in the building, and there's this Q lady who is a little insecure, and we kind of end off with that. Then we get into, at the bottom, this comment about Panama, where Rafael and them came from. And then we talk about, in the third column, we talk about the children. The children Mayor is the older one, and Enriquez, I think, is the younger one, and they're very different from each other. And there's this joke about how different they are from each other, that they accidentally brought the wrong kid home. It's a forced smile for some reason, which I don't fully understand. And then after that, we shift over to finally, okay, and I want to emphasize this, to finally talking about the narrator. And then the narrator, turns out there's like a little dark, not a secret, right? But there's like a little, it's but there's been something that we've been waiting to hear, and it's the first sort of edgy thing that's in the whole story, okay? Up until then, we're just sort of inferring things, but then finally we have, this narrator, which nameless narrator, has a daughter, and this daughter's going to a good school, quote unquote, that she only has to be there for a couple years. So was she does she have psychological issues? Was she have disciplinary issues? We don't know. We don't know any details about what happens with the daughter, but we do know that it's not the place that you want to have your kids go to. The name of it, I forgot. It's like a single word name. It's like in the middle of that paragraph, but there's a name. Hermes is what I'm thinking, but that's, a French luxury brand. So something like that. Anyway, and then at the end, Celia is reassuring, puts her hand on the narrator's hand, and they're friends. All right, that's my summary. That was very detailed, actually, except it took me a while to remember the second column, but yeah, that was pretty detailed. I would say that's a very, very strong summary. How was your summary compared to mine? All right, I'm going to get into it. Let me restart time. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Description is primarily intended to, so I just saw this word evoke, but it's like evoke like fullness. That kind of works. No. Yeah. Okay. 5:30. Availability of goods. Which fact does the narrator know before she visits about Sally's neighbor? Does she know before she? Is it about Q? Is it about Q? Right, it's about Q. It's funny. That was just a gut feeling. I didn't know. I didn't notice that when I read it. 47. Okay. So when Celia tells the narrator not to let Q put you off, don't be scared or bothered, right? Deceived. Yeah. Is it offend? Is it impose or is it offend? Busybody. Doesn't know. Put you busy, but I feel like busybody. Is that impose? That's I feel like it's D right now. Ooh, I'm gonna come back to this, all right? Because I don't want to waste too much time. 6:45. I feel like busybody means impose. That's basically the idea right there. Which choice best describes the narrator's relationships? Pause. Just meta comment. Notice what happens when you are overconfident. See, problem with overconfidence, because I'm starting to think that D is the right answer for the last one. Problem with overconfidence, though, is this is what happens. When you circle something, like the moment that you circle something you think it's the right answer, to cross it out takes an additional amount of effort, so that initial investment, canceling the amount of effort to cancel the investment into A is actually higher than if you just hadn't chosen A in the first place, that you were just sort of neutral in the first place. So going from neutral to confident versus going from confident to neutralizing the confidence and then increasing confidence on a second answer choice takes more time. So there's always the danger of overconfidence there, okay? Just be aware of that. I'm going to restart time. I'm not going to make any more commentary on that. I'm at 6:55. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Which choice best describes the narrator's relationship with Celia's son? they kind of know of them. She knows of them. Two boys I recognize from the stores. And Enrique. Just recognition. Has seen Mayor in person? I think, yeah. And Enrique. Yeah. He's seen Mayor in person. But I don't know this photo bit, but I don't really see, but hey, we have evidence here. So I'm looking at basically line 69. Okay. Oh, but we don't have 69. So, I guess 68, right? Wait, what's 74, 75? That would not help. Okay. What? These numbers are... She stood us? What? That doesn't really help with... What the heck? That's such a weird question. I'm gonna pause. Guys, the correct answer doesn't completely support number 4, which, like, unless I'm wrong, if I chose... maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I don't want to pass judgment when I'm not even 100% sure. So you know what I'll do? I'll just circle it. Weird. All right, I'm gonna keep going. 825. Recounts his joke primarily to... Oh man. Yeah, but that's just emphasizing how different the sons are. That's true. I'm not gonna bother with this. That's just true. That's the primary reason. The forced bit is a little weird, but we're going to ignore that. Celia knows the answer to which question? Oh, the school. Yeah. Celia knows which school because she was awkward about it. And she starts immediately as though she didn't want to say it out loud. Yeah. 79 through 81. 79, 81. Let's go. Here we go. So that's 925. Tells the narrator about leaving Panama. Leave Panama. 91, 96. Wait, hang on. Primarily to... Why does she talk about primarily? To encourage her. To encourage her. I'm just gonna... No, not to share though. Not the reasons they both immigrated. Console. Has prospered. I feel like it's D. Prosper. I feel like it's just empathizing. I mean. Yeah. That's correct. Ooh, I think that might be hard for some kids. For some of you guys with really low emotional intelligence, that might be hard. 97, benediction, primarily serves to... right, sorry. I should have just known that without looking back. You know what I'm doing? My brain is not turned on. Benediction primarily serves to describe the significance of that particular motion, that authority. Meaningful. Yeah. Gesture. That's the word I was looking for. 10:45. What? I'm taking way too long. 10:45. Okay, that took me way too long. And I haven't even finished. So I'm going to go with green and I'm going to restart the time and double check my answers. Go. 3, 2, 1, go. Don't put you off though. The meaning of put you off doesn't mean impose though. So it's actually A. Okay, it doesn't mean impose. So I just had to reread that question. The relationship with the sons. You know, I'm confused here, but the first time we even mention the children are in the next page. Oh no, they mentioned at the very bottom. So your son, he was born there. So yeah, basically they don't. She doesn't know a lot. We don't know a lot. Yeah, and then we're teaching her what the boys are like, and then the photo. There's 2 boys, and there's one that she recognizes. So this has to be the right answer. This has to be the right answer. But 65, 68 doesn't fully provide support for the full. Anyway, but it's the best one. So 1155. 1155. Dude, guys, this is not good. Normally I do the literature passage usually in like 10 minutes, maybe 11. This is 12 minutes. It's not good. Guys. It means something's wrong with me. And it's hilarious because I've actually, like I said, I've actually seen this passage once before in my life. Okay, let me see the questions first, and then I'll score myself, and then go through the questions one by one. You think B? I think you're talking about, what was B? I don't know what you're talking about. Remember that when I'm doing this timed, I am not looking at my streaming setup. I'm looking only at my iPads because I need to be 100% focused. So let me know what you mean by B, because I have no idea which one you're talking about. 5962, I'd be upset if I got that wrong. I don't think that helps. Oh, there's Mayor who you met. Bleep. Hang on. And then brother. He's nothing at all like. That is such a strange 65 to 68. So B is almost certainly the right answer because it has more of a. B is almost certainly the right answer because 65, 68 doesn't support it. You know, it's funny. I don't know what happened. It's just, I know what happened. I can explain it. What I should have done is I should have started crossing this out, and I should have turned on my evidence mode. My process elimination mode. But maybe just because during the streams I try to emphasize that process elimination is like the last resort. Maybe in my streams I've started avoiding process elimination, kind of to like really overemphasize the fact that you really should not be using POE frequently. And if you watch all my previous streams, I almost never use POE for process elimination. But I should have used POE because it's not hard. I just needed to read it. Anyway, I should have used POE. So I should have crossed out D, and then I should have looked at 58 and 59 and 62. Especially because I can tell my brain isn't fully turned on, so I'm a little sloppy. Like I don't slow down. My pacing is a little off, where my rhythm and the rhythm of the test is a little off. So I keep kind of missing a couple things here and there. So today's honestly not the best day for me to take a test, but whatever. Let's go with this. But the lesson right now is I'm very confident that it's B. Now let's look at the answer choices. Actually, before I do that, I see Joaquin's question. How long should it take you to complete? You should at least have one passage that takes you, I don't know, if you want to be like 800, right? If you want to be like a perfect scorer on EBRW, I think you should at least have one passage that you do in 10 minutes. Depends on, some kids are faster on the science than the literature, so it depends on you. But yeah, there's at least one passage you should be doing in 10 minutes. And then, for me, my sort of prediction, my sort of formula is 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 13, 13, 13. Okay. And what that comes out to is 59 minutes. So that means I have 6 minutes of wiggle room, right? That's basically my thinking about it. 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 13, 13, 13. Okay. And then maybe if like one of them is like really hard, it'd be like 10 minutes, 13, 15, 13. You know, it could be like that, or whatever. Then you would only have 4 minutes of, then you would have 4 minutes of wiggle room to spread out around the other ones. So 12 minutes is not great. What that means is now I have to be like, kind of like, when I think 12 minutes, I just think, like I want to hit 10 minutes on the next passage really, personally, to kind of relieve some of the edge. But I also don't want to rush things just because that creates more errors. But I do feel pressure when I start off with 12 minutes because I know that literature is my strong suit. So that depends on you, okay? It depends on how good you are at science. It depends on how good you are with U.S. history. Depends on how good you are with literature. For me, literature is the one that I feel like I should basically be doing it in 10, 11 minutes max. All right, so I'm about to get into this scoring. I didn't pull it up in advance, so I need to actually pull it up now. Give me a sec. I have to pull it up on my computer so that I can double check. Okay. Oh, dude. This is not good, man. It's not good that I made one wrong already on literature. A, D, A are correct. C, B, are correct, okay? And then I chose A, D, C, and over here A, D, C are correct, a 9 out of 10. So sad. I spent 2 extra minutes and I still got it wrong. God. Annoying. All right, well, I have to start this next passage as if I know nothing. It's just minute 0 again, and I just have a neutral, cool, rational mind around this, not get too emotionally shaken up by this. So let's go. I am about to get into the second passage. Here we go. Oh, no, I forgot to do tips. I've already sort of explained my answer for B5, so I've like pre-explained it because I knew it before I even got into it. So I think that should be good enough. But just in case anyone jumps to this part of the video, I will just say it one more time. For 5B, got it wrong. I failed to do process elimination, which I should do when I'm stuck on things. And the evidence is right there, 61, 62. Whereas the evidence for C, okay, this doesn't have direct evidence. And so I kept complaining about it. I was like, man, what the? I kept complaining about it as I was choosing it. It was such a annoying thing. And you know what that is? Part of it is because I try to trust the College Board as much as possible to write high quality questions, but sometimes I actually doubt the College Board. And this is, I think, a sort of, it's like a meta game. It's not really the kind of game you should be playing. It's more of a game that I play because I'm like, in a way, I'm kind of and I'm like critiquing the College Board, but you shouldn't be doing that. You should just trust the College Board, and you should just assume that their answer is 100% quality answers, right? You should just assume it and don't doubt it. But for me as an educator who really cares about reading and writing and literacy education, I just sometimes have like little nitpicky, like I have things that I nitpick about, and that's just my professional, that's the chip on my shoulder, right? It's just me being pedantic about things. So yeah, don't play that meta game where you doubt the quality of the College Board, because by the way, guys, College Board writes good tests. Like, usually on a writing section, there's only like one question usually that I like feel like iffy on. Like, is that really the right kind of question you want to ask kids? College Board, really? You know, like really only one of them is off. And then reading, actually, I tend to find that usually zero questions are weird. But every once in a while, it's like one out of like every three or four tests. So the quality of questions on the College Board is actually really high, much better than what you would find from Kunyang. Kunyang is a Korean word, sorry, from any random group of teachers or any random like publisher of books, of test prep books, way better. So yeah, trust the process. I know College Board is just one institution in the whole world of, you know, and the world is not a perfect place, but the College Board actually does have good questions. So don't play the meta game like I did, where I'm like, man, this is one of those questions that the College Board is just being lazy on, right? Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? That will actually make your test score go down. So I can afford to do it because I'm not a student, but you should not do that. All right, so that's my random comment on what happened with 5, okay? So the evidence is right there, and I was being stupid. Or, I was playing a game that I shouldn't have been playing. Tips for this passage. For this passage, okay, the first thing to really notice is the word full, and then to think about the meaning of full, right? I loved how full her home felt, right? That thing, think about the meaning of that from the narrator's perspective, because the narrator is basically the main character. The narrator is the main character, and we're learning about the narrator through a first-person narration, so it's a little weird, right? It's a little weird because you're learning about somebody not through other people's descriptions of that person, but through that person's interactions in the world, okay? And this narrator isn't going to flat out tell you, oh, I am struggling with this. This narrator is not your friend. He's not going to be calling you up. This narrator is talking about, right, things that happen, of her going over with Chichorones to Celia's house and all that stuff. But the narrator is the main character in this one, okay? So when you know that the narrator is the main character, you read, I love how full her home felt, and you should infer, oh, maybe the narrator's home is not full. Like, what does that mean, right? And then you think unknown Americans, and you should think, and you should, you know, and Cristina Enriquez, and you should think, oh, maybe she just recently immigrated, right? I think if you can make that, again, you shouldn't be 100% confident, but it should be a prediction that you should be making at that point, okay? It's like, oh, maybe that's what will happen, right? Not like, oh, she's definitely an immigrant. If you say that, you're dumb, all right? You're being dumb because you're being overly confident without evidence, okay? But what you should be thinking is, I love how full her home felt. Maybe her home isn't full, and maybe that means she moved recently, or she's getting settled, or she's envious, or she wants something and she doesn't have it, and I wonder what that is. Okay, that's what you should be doing over here. Then over here, provisions we would need. Over here, you should really understand that Celia is the guide and the narrator is the sort of newcomer. So that's the role that they're playing. And at that moment, you should confirm your prediction over here. Your prediction is, your question should be, I wonder what the narrator is going through, right? And maybe you should be thinking maybe she immigrated. And then you see this, and then you see the word home. It's like, it sounds like she might have immigrated. And then you see this, and you should be 100% sure by this point, okay? It's like, okay, Celia is the mama bear, okay? And mama bear is helping me, the narrator, adjust to this place that I just immigrated to that is not home, okay? Then after that, so your son was born there. With these names, with all these names, just again, this is just a mechanical thing that I always do. I don't always do this, right? Especially for literature, I don't always do this, but today I did, and it helped me out. I just circled the names and I wrote the initials on the side because it just helps me like make them real, okay? I think I have ADHD, so I think if you are the kind of kid that kind of forgets things really quickly, and you're like hyperactive, and you forget things really fast, this might help you. It helps me a lot. So your son, he was born there, and over here, we really should be going towards. I mean, I guess you would do well. I mean, but how do you know this in advance? Who you met, right? If you pick up on that on the first time, then you'd be really lucky, right? But over here, this transition, super important. As soon as you know this is the part where you should actually have had all these questions about the narrators. Like, what's the narrator's deal though? And now we finally get to the narrator, and we kind of hint at the underlying conflict with the narrator. Okay, so that's really important. And yes, you should be able to do this on your first time reading it. Okay, your first time reading it, you kind of know what the shape of the story is, and you should have these thoughts as you're reading it the very first time. If you didn't, it means that you could still improve your understanding of literature. Okay, so that's passage 1. Passage 2, let's go. Dark. Yeah, AP exams. Yeah, I know, an intense period of the year for lots of people. For me, I have no AP exams, so lucky me. I do take the May SAT in like 2 weeks, so I'll be doing the streams every day. If you can't join, I'll miss you. But you can always jump in later on, because I'll be doing this throughout May as well. All right, I'm at 11:55. This is not a good starting position. I already got one wrong, and it's been 12 minutes. Oof, not good. Hopefully, though, with all this talking, I'm starting to wake up, and I'm being what would I call it? That I'm more alert than I was for the first passage. Joaquin says, "What is my study schedule to take the May?" I don't have a study schedule. I just stream and I'm just gonna go in. But I really should study math. That's the problem. And I said that I'm gonna study math so that I can get a 1600. But I'm like kind of lazy, guys. I don't want to study math, but it's like on my mind. So I think next week I'm just gonna cram. Like literally the advice that I tell kids not to do, I'm gonna just do it. Just cram my math like the couple days before the test, because I'm so lazy. Yeah, I don't have a study schedule. But obviously, don't do what I do, because I'm different from you guys. Okay, your cram has to be sensitive to what you are doing. So, like it's Joaquin, I was speaking to you early. You're struggling on the. You're struggling on. You know what? For you, how you want to increase your math, your writing, and your reading, and the reading's the hardest one. I honestly, if it's 2 weeks, I would rather have you focus on. If I were you, I would definitely focus more on the math and writing, and just get your grammar. Especially on the math, do what you got to do, because I can't give you advice for that, because I don't really know what the best way of studying math is. But for your writing, you should get your grammar down. Like you should just you should just get to the place where you're making like no grammar mistakes. And so the only mistakes that you're making on the writing test are the like the sentence order, or a main idea, or concluding sentence, or add or delete. Like those are the only ones. And even at that, you should only be making like one wrong per passage, and getting a couple passages like 0 out of 11, right? So just focus on that, because 2 weeks is not a lot of time to improve reading. With reading, the main thing I would say is try my approach, and then try the default approach that most kids use, which is like the short summary of my approach is read the passage first. That's my approach. Read the passage first. Read the passage first, and then for every question, before you go into the answer choices, before you start battling with A and B and C and D, like have an actual prediction. Have a weapon, okay? Don't bring a knife to the gunfight. Bring a gun. So how do you bring a gun to the gunfight with A, B, C, D? Make a prediction, okay? Just try my approach, and then go back and compare it against the usual approach that most people talk about. where you like go through the questions and then like check the line references and blah, 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 and then just see which feels better, and then just practice that a couple times over the next 2 weeks. All right, here we go. Let's go into April 2019, the second passage. 3, 2, 1, let's go. History. No, it's not history. Huffington Post should not be too hard. Debating extremist politics. Okay. Prosaic details. Stop. So I have seen this passage before. It looks like I've seen the whole. I'm gonna guess I've seen. I feel like I've seen all of them. Like I don't recognize them immediately when I just see it. Like if I just see the first sentence, I don't know what it immediately is going to lead to. Okay, because a lot of teachers do know that, right? When I was teaching the old SAT, after a couple years, I could practically memorize all the passages just because you keep teaching the same passage over and over again, right? So this might be my second time reading this passage, but it's still fuzzy enough that it should feel real when I do the stream. Okay, so I will no longer repeat this comment for the rest of the stream. So guys, just know I have seen all these passages before, at least probably once. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Oh, I see. The nuts and bolts are the prosaic details of complex policies. Most have taken up positions on these issues, but they are not reasoned, which takes hard work. They instead they go for simplistic explanations and assume wrongly on the nuances. Okay, reasoned positions versus nuances. Okay, and prosaic details. These are all connected. This is 1240. Have a name for this. The illusion of explanatory depth. We strongly believe that we understand complex things when in fact these are false and extreme, and when in fact we're dumb and we're dumb. That's a good question. Is it possible to shake? Fernbach wanted to explore forcing people to explain in detail might force them to confront their ignorance. Okay, cool. And weaken extremist stands. Okay, I'm at 1325. Volunteers. This is experiment design. Variety of issues, flat tax to cap and trade for carbon emissions. Elaborate explanations, okay? Explain what it means, implementation, whom it benefits. So basically like debate cases. They were not asked for value judgments. Cool, they were being taught to be, they were going through a very good debate course, basically. Most of us never do this. Yes, that's totally true. And this is all the hypothesis. Okay, this is all hypothesis. And the reasoning for that hypothesis. They became more moderate. Nice. Being forced to articulate the nuts and bolts is not the same as trying to sell the policy. In fact, talking about one's views can often strengthen them. But it's right. Talking is selling. That's the same thing. But deliberate analysis is nuts and bolts. Okay, another experiment. Reasons for liking. Less shaken, yeah. They continue to think they understood, but they actually didn't, and they stayed extreme. Yeah, that makes sense. 1525. Polarization reinforces itself, which increases extremism. But forcing concrete and elaboration could be good. Self-ratings for understanding. So obviously after you try that task, right, after you have to analyze and explain, then you will drop. Yeah. And then if you, oh, that's actually interesting, but very minor drop. Very minor drop, right? But there's still a minor drop, which is kind of interesting. 1605, stop. 1605, so that was 4 minutes-ish, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So that's bad. That's not bad. So maybe I took 12 minutes on the first passage, but hopefully I can finish this off in 10 minutes. Oh, what? I didn't see this. Let me finish this. I'm going to start time again. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Mean rate, self-ratings for position on policy. Self-ratings for position. Oh, so your position should stay the same or it should go up over here. Okay, cool. And then this drops. Cool. Yep, that makes sense. 1620. All right, so here's my summary. Now, again, I strongly recommend you guys to pause this video and to make your own summary from memory first and then compare it with mine. Here we go. Sorry, I'm zooming out. So my summary is, the first paragraph talks about political extremism. This one's gonna be hard to summarize because it's like a journalistic style rather than like a pure science analytical style. So like it's kind of like semi-casual, and I kind of don't really remember the structure of this that well. But basically, the beginning, we're talking about political extremism and how that's, oh no, we talk about this phenomenon of how people think they know things, but actually they don't. We have a preference for being lazy and assuming that we actually know. Okay, so it just starts with the general background about human characteristics. Then this leads to this question: can it be changed? And that's the hypothesis by itself. That's purely the hypothesis. Can we change our tendency to assume that we know? Okay. And then we have this name PF or something. Philip Fernbach? Something like that. PF. I'm going to call him the researcher. And we go right into I think there's like a paragraph about Philip Fernbach in the background and what they did, but then we go into, I don't remember that paragraph, and then the next paragraph it talks about the experiment design. Like he got 3 groups: Democrats, Republicans, Independents. I don't know, was it dozens, was it hundreds? I forget, but a certain scale, number of people. And what he did is he rated them on their positions on certain things like cap and trade for carbon emissions, and on a flat tax for tax policy. Those are 2 examples that came out. Only 2 for some reason, which is why I remember them. And he and his team that basically had them. The experiment was what happens if you are forced to explain what these things are, what the benefits are, how they get implemented. Basically, you have to do research and learn all the details, the nuts and bolts. And when they do nuts and bolts, turns out they become less extreme. That's by the but before we actually get the conclusion, though, there's like at the bottom of the left column and up to the top of the right column, before we actually get the conclusion, we actually have this whole like interlude where we talk about, let's be honest, we never do this, right? So what this is doing is giving auxiliary reasoning for why the hypothesis makes sense. So usually in a science paper, you get the results first, and then get the conclusions, and then as a scientist, and not as a journalist, okay? As a scientist, you tend to be pretty what do you call it? Tame. You're like, we believe the one possible reason for this is because, right, is that blah 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 blah, right? They'll say it in a much less spunky way, but because this is journalistic style and it's more editorial, kind of just jams the reasoning right there. So I guess I actually in the middle of reading I called it the hypothesis, just expanded, which that could happen on a science paper. You could like usually when you set out a hypothesis, you explain where you got the hypothesis from, right? Not in a school science lab report, by the way. You don't. I think in a school science lab report, you literally just write a single sentence hypothesis and you have no explanation for why, where that came from, right? I think, isn't that true? In high school, you actually skip the whole natural process of coming up with a hypothesis. You're just like, you just have a hypothesis suddenly. I think that's true in most schools, which is so unnatural. And in real life, you actually want to explain to people where you got the hypothesis from. So that you could be considering that part the hypothesis, like the reasoning for the hypothesis, or you could be considering it the discussion right after the results. Okay, if it were a normal science paper, but it's a journalistic paper, which is why the format's a little different from what you might expect. Okay, sorry, and I'm looking at the page, but I shouldn't be. So after that conclusion comes out, it turns out these people do become less extreme. We have a second experiment where the only task that the research subjects are asked to perform is to explain all the reasons why it's a good policy. And obviously when you do that, that just confirms your own positions. So there was not much of a difference at all in their positions. They didn't doubt themselves at all when they did that. So that's the middle. That's up until the middle of the second column. And at the end, there's like this conclusion about how this affects political extremism in the United States. And we could start by forcing people to be more concrete and explanatory and analytical. All right, that is my summary of the passage. How does your summary compare to mine? I am now about to get into the questions. Let's get going. Yes, I am trying to aim at finishing this by 22 minutes. Okay, that would be 12 minutes plus 10. So 12 minutes for the first passage because I lost time on that one. And now I want to finish this at 22 minutes. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Central idea. This is a central idea, so I kind of have to skim. But articulating the reasons for holding an opinion can cause people to decide they are wrong. They are wrong is a little too. Oh yeah, most people are not truly interested in understanding complex. Okay, that's. Yeah, this is a little too judgmental. Yep, that's much more feasible, much more tenable. Yeah. The main focus shifts from. Hang on, what? Oh, I see. This question makes it sound like it's just like a 1-2 thing, but it's actually 3. Okay. So a discussion to report. No. So basically some phenomenon and then experiments and then recommendations. I guess, yeah, it is a recommendation at the end. No, we don't have theories. Yeah. So 1730. I feel sloppy for some reason. I can't tell where the sloppiness is coming from, but I don't feel like myself. The illusion, the facade, the dream, the misconception of, let me just double check, explanatory depth. The misconception of explanatory depth. Sure, misconception seems right. 18 minutes. 13 shape most nearly means. Facade was actually kind of a bad prediction. These beliefs shape, they alter, they modify, they influence, they don't modify, they influence. Influence our, yeah, they don't modify. Sorry, 1830. That's interesting. It's one of the, probably the only time I've had an exact prediction and I've went against it. The main purpose of the fourth paragraph is to experiment design. Yep, 1850. when conducting his laboratory work, he would have been most surprised if we went against the hypothesis. No, this is the hypothesis is when they are asked to list the reasons. No, this is in accordance. Their understanding is a little off topic. Questions about complexity. Oh yeah. Yeah, because Fernbach forcing to confront. So 20 would help. Besides 20, and there's also kind of 49. There's 20 and 49 that I could use. I was just looking for both of those Okay. 20 wasn't there. I felt like I might be juked out. Yeah. I'm gonna go with that. So that's 20 minutes and 10 seconds. What would reduce extremism? Making everyone explain. No, not the politicians. Talking about people. People. No, to interact. Okay, politicians is, I guess, the only, but this is the only one that has explained, even though politicians is kind of weak because it's only a subset of the whole group, but yeah. This is at the bottom, so it almost certainly is 76, 78, just because I'm looking at, oh no, there's 2 parts from that one. Let's double check. Oh, I guess there's candidates right here. It gives citizens, yeah, 76, 78. (21:10), and I'm stopping. So guys, I was actually aiming at 10 minutes, but I basically got 9 minutes on that. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, Amaze, I'm pretty sure you're wrong, just because organized groups of people, like, we have nothing about socialization. We only have, this whole passage is only about how people, how people get more moderate if they're forced to explain in detail. And so the opposite, so how do you make, so reducing political extremism is the same as increasing moderation or moderateness, right? Political moderation, is that the right word? But like increasing moderate views is the same as reducing extreme views, right? So how do you increase moderate views? You force them to explain. And so the only thing that could make sense is B. Now, A means organizing these people into groups. That's just off topic. That's not covered at all in the passage. Now, if you think that you see a connection, I'm kind of curious. I would be very curious where you found that line, where, what words, where in the passage does it feel like they talk about, organizing groups of deeply held convictions. So if you can write that out, then I can do a further explanation of why that's wrong. Oh, what? That's why I didn't do, there's 2 more questions, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I'm being stupid. I'm definitely sloppy today, guys. Definitely sloppy. This is not the cleanest stream at all, by a long shot. I guess, I couldn't, even with the 1 hour break after waking up from my sudden, knocking out in the middle of the day, it's not enough to make me come back to 100, I guess. So today, I'm just not doing that great. But anyway, let me finish what I was saying earlier, Amaze. So yeah, if you explain your reasoning, like if you found some evidence for A, some potential evidence for A, I can tell you what I think about that before I score myself. It would be awesome if you could show me up and you would be the one that's right. It'd be awesome if you could do that. Now I should finish the test. It's freaking hell, man. I am so not right now. I'm just so off right now, but whatever. Let's just finish this, right? So I thought I finished this in 9 minutes. I was so happy for a second. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Which statement best describes a change in the mean self-ratings of the volunteers after they went down? It went down. They became less confident. Yeah. Ooh, and their understanding? It was about how much they support. It was not about it was understanding. Never mind. It was understanding. It was understanding. So, okay, understanding is correct. 2140. And for against, making a reason. Reasons for against has little impact on their position. Because this one was about your position. Yeah. Oh, that's why that tripped me up. One of them is about understanding and one of them is about position. Now we're at 22 minutes exactly. Stop. All right, perfect 10 minutes. There we go. All right, I'm about to go. I see no follow-up comments, so I'm about to go right into the scoring. And then after the scoring, I will get into my tips for this passage. So for 11 to 14, I chose BBAC, and 11 to 14, I got BBAC correct. I chose CDD for 15 and on, and CDD are correct. 18, 19 are BD. BD are correct. And then we have CA, and 2021 CA are correct. I am 11 for 11, and 20 for 21. 20 for 21 right now. All right, my tips for this passage in particular. And this is just generic for all SAT science passages, but yeah, just always know where the hypothesis is. So here's the hypothesis. Then when you read the experiment design, guys, slow down. Slow down. Like, read the damn thing. Like, figure out how it's designed. You should basically, when you have the hypothesis, and then when you read through this part, as you're reading through this part, you should basically be doing simulations. Like, oh, okay. So they have these people, and if these people say this, then that means the hypothesis is validated. If these people say this, then that means the hypothesis is validated. But if these people say this, then that means that's invalidating the hypothesis. Like you should basically be running these simulations in real time very fast in your own head, right? Every time you read a sentence. I'll give you an example. Indicated how strongly they felt about each issue. So first, when I read that, without too much analysis, I immediately think, okay, they probably removed all the people who didn't have strong feelings. The complete moderates. Why would you even run this experiment on the complete moderates, right? Just remove them. They're not your hypothesis. Your hypothesis is that extreme people become more moderate. Your hypothesis is not that moderate people become even more moderate or moderate people become more extreme. That's not your hypothesis. So you're probably just not going to focus on the ones who didn't feel strong. And then they rated their own understanding of the issues. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, so there's two vectors here. And actually, if I read this more carefully, right, then this one I could connect to figure 2. And this one I could connect to figure 1, right? I didn't actually read it that carefully in real time. But right now, for the purpose of explanation, all I'm just saying is when you read these little bits, you shouldn't be just being like, you shouldn't just be like idle. Your brain should be turned on thinking about how this might affect the hypothesis and what kind of experiment results you need to prove the hypothesis. Okay, minimally, you should be thinking that. So read that. So slow down for the experiment design. And I don't know, I think this one's kind of easy, so I don't know what else to say. Just don't miss the second. Some people will miss this, but there is a second experiment, so don't miss it. If you're reading so fast that you don't even notice that there's a second experiment, then you're doing it wrong. Okay, so my whole approach is that my approach is not that you're going to predict all 11 questions. There's no way you're going to know all 11 questions up front. The whole point of reading it up front is to have a map. In the top left, it was talking about this. In the bottom left, it was talking about this. In the top right, it was talking about this. kind of interesting. And you should just sort of remember the passage. That's the whole point. Because once you have a map, then you don't have to do process elimination for all freaking 11 questions. Okay? You don't have to do process elimination. You only should do process elimination for like 1 or 2 questions. Okay? The other ones, you should be able to predict the answer and get it right, and then just double check that you're not going crazy, right? Like you kind of skim A, B, and D just to be like, okay, is there a more obvious correct answer, right? But besides that, you're not doing like the word for word, like crossing out. You're not doing that, right? So you want to avoid process elimination. You want to minimize process elimination. That's my whole approach. So just know the transitions. For this particular passage, it's not too hard. So I'm going to move on from the tips. All right, we're about to get into the third passage. But I'm noticing something. I'm a little scatterbrained today. I am. I just can't avoid it. I'm like a bird right now. Just not like the bird that flies. I'm like a bird. Not that song. I'm thinking. I'm very twitchy and sort of spastic, and I'm jumping around, and I'm not very calm and coherent. So when I do these questions, I feel a little sloppy. So I want to take a 5-minute break, and mainly what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a breathing exercise through the Headspace app, and I'm going to drink some water and just sort of calm down and see if that benefits my my test taking. So I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break just to settle my brain, feel a little bit more focused. Increase my focus so that I can do this better. Okay, so I'll be right back. I didn't know this until just now, but it turns out I might be a little sick, which might be why I've been so like out of it all day. At least I'm having minor sinus issues, but I do feel more calm now. I didn't go with the full headspace. I just walked around and then did a 1 minute breathing thing on the Apple Watch app, which I find is helpful because you don't have to spend that much time on it and you feel more focused. So that's one thing that you guys could also use in your studies. Yeah, I do have some sinus issues though, which might, now that I think about it, on like in real life, that's usually not that distracting, but on streams when you're watching someone else talk, they're like sniffling the whole time. It's kind of annoying. So if I'm triggering anyone out there, I'm trying to be funny but also not curse. My humor relies on me cursing. I just don't feel comfortable cursing on YouTube. Oh well. F you guys is what I was trying to say. So Rufa, what's up? About to get into the third passage. Let's finish off. I started real rocky. It's very sort of like my mind and everything is very jerky. Like my thought process is very not calm today. So I haven't made mistakes yet. Oh, I did make a mistake. Sorry, I made a mistake already on the literature, which I don't think I normally would have, but today I did. So I just tried to calm myself down. I think today's stream is definitely, it's not going to be my best stream, but I'm going to keep pushing through and get through the April 2019. So here we go. Let me just set up and get into passage 3. So Rufat, yeah, I've decided to not do the writing, to skip on the writing. I want to get through all of the reading. Every reading every reading QAS and every reading PSAT there is, I want to get through them like basically by like before the summer, like in April and May. April, we don't even have that much time left. So, I just want to get through as many of those as possible. And I just found that writing it's really tiring to do reading and writing. So I'll be saving the writing maybe for a future season, but not this time. Thankfully, there's already a lot of good writing resources out there, and it's much harder to raise reading scores than it is to raise writing scores. So I do think you have a lot of options there that are not just me. All right, here we go. Let's get into the third passage. I'm at 22 minutes. 3, 2, 1, let's go. A plant uses cryptic coloration to hide. So what the hell is the difference between camo and cryptic coloration? Like, what is that? It is well known that animal species use camo. So a good strategy may seem like it's common in animal kingdom, but who ever heard? So it's camo. Okay, it's camo. It's the same thing. In plants, the use of coloration is a vital component of acquiring food or attracting pollinators. However, it can also be for escaping predators. 1, 2, 3. Cluster, MK. Odorata, MO, might serve a similar purpose as the stripes on the moth to hide. This seems like a fairly easy science passage. 23. Fungus that associates with roots for all the resources it needs. Oh, they don't. Interesting. No, they don't need photosynthesis to make energy because that fungus helps. The Odorata, large population, they removed the dried bracts that cover the 3 to 5 centimeters are the brown color that refers in the leaf litter and cover the Pinkish purple. So when you remove it, they look pink now. Measured the reflectance patterns. Okay, and found that it functioned as camouflage. Blend in with the surroundings. Well, okay. Well, I don't. Okay, yeah. They have to have some numbers, right? Because they can't just say I saw it, right? So they're using these reflectance numbers. Experimentally demonstrated increases thickness. Suffered only a quarter of the damage and produced a higher fruits. Fruits versus damage. Okay, higher percentage. Okay, I'm at 24.35. That's just discussion. It's a quotation by whom? It's still Klusser, so same guy. Drying bracts early to hide reproductive is a good strategy. So we're talking about drying early. Early drying. Ooh, okay, paradox. What's this paradox? Relying on animal for pollination, seed dispersal. That's interesting. So this is a follow-up hypothesis. Stop. 25:30. Okay. Oh, figures. Let's go. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 25:30. Moving on. Reflectance has to be dropped when your bract is removed. Oh, I see. The bract itself and the leaf litter. Holy crap! What's going on? Oh, okay. The leaf litter and the bract are. Oh, I see. Super similar. That's cool. That's really cool. Okay. And the flower petals are very different. Okay, they're very different from these two. That makes it hard to read, so I'm going to erase all that, but that's really cool. Okay, 2605. When you have it removed, then obviously you're going to have more damage. And there's 2 different years. Interesting, because this wasn't mentioned. I don't think this was mentioned in the passage. 2625. Pause or stop. Okay. Oh, again? Why did I do the breathing exercise just to forget it again? I just, it keeps happening. Dude, this stream, I feel like I need to just take it down. This is not good. It's not good. Let me know if I should take down the stream. I feel like this is like probably the worst that I've had it. Dude. So annoying. Okay. I mean, what's annoying is I'm annoyed by myself as I'm shooting myself in the foot. So annoying. Anyway, I should go into a summary. Jeez. Okay, well, let's calm down, breathe. Here we go. So here's my summary. Pretty straightforward. One thing that's really interesting to note about this particular passage is it's only focused on, not interesting, sorry, but something to note. Okay, it's not interesting, it's the wrong word. But something to note is that we literally only talk about one plant, okay, the odorosa. MO, I think. So we only talk about one plant. That's the whole focus of this thing. So if there's a question that asks about the structure of this passage, it'll just be one plant, one species. Okay, that's all. So Just keep that in mind. Now I'm going into, so the first paragraph it's the right side column because there's only 2 columns, and then the figures. But basically on the right side column, the first paragraph is about how animals having camouflage, that's common, but who ever heard of plants? So it's like a cute little hook, okay? Then the second paragraph introduces the plant, MO, by this researcher named MK, I think that was his initials, okay? So it introduces our main characters, okay? We have the plant and the researcher. I think the third paragraph is where we get straight into the experiment design, where we got a lot of these plants and we grouped them up. Oh no, we didn't group them up. What do we do with these plants? Oh, we had a bunch of them removing their bracts. So their pink, purple, like fleshy bits are showing. That kind of sounds overly sexy, but we remove the bracts, and what do we do? The first thing we do is measure the reflectance patterns. And yeah, turns out that the reflectance patterns gets shown. It's kind of cool how accurate it is actually, but the reflectance patterns matches the reflectance patterns of their surroundings. That's the whole first column. And the top of the right column, on the second column, on the left side of the second page, we get the second bit, an experimentally confirmed hypothesis that, they experimentally confirmed the hypothesis by showing that not only are the reflectance patterns a stupid little numbers game where they actually measure like how reflective it is, right? Not just the actual observation, but seeing their actual survival rates, right? How many fruits do they produce and how damaged do they get? Turns out that if they have the bracts, they're way more protected and they produce more fruit. So that's the second thing. And then I think after that it goes into this one paragraph, which is MK's little comment. He says something that's super in line. There's nothing surprising there, I thought. It's pretty much just like what I already could predict. So I didn't mark that at all. And then after that, we go into the conclusion, which was interesting because it raised a new question, which becomes the hypothesis for a future experiment, which is about something that I don't remember right now. I don't remember what that was, but I know where it is. So I can find it in like 2 seconds if I had to. So that's my summary of this passage. Turns out this one's also fairly easy, which gives me some relief because I wasted some time on the first passage, on the literature passage. But who knows how hard the questions will be, and who knows how hard the history and the final science passages will be. We'll see in just a bit. For now, let's finish off the third passage. Guys, I also saw that you want me to keep up the stream, so I guess I will. Whatever. Everyone knows that I'm just streaming these. I'm being sort of run and gun about these things. But so I think in 2022, it'll still be always pretty low quality streams. High quality intelligence and advice, low quality streaming is basically what I'm doing right now. But hopefully by 2023, I'll be actually able to I'm kind of tinkering a little bit with video editing, but hopefully I'll actually have proper skills to edit videos next year. Let's get into the questions now. 3, 2, 1, let's go. The main purpose is to talk about a single plant species. Nope. Nope. Yep. Dude, stop. I predicted this question, bros. I predicted it. Predicted it. I can't speak right now. Anyway, that's dude. I totally predicted this. 3. I'm gonna keep going. So I'll write the time down first. 26:40. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Which choice best supports the idea that the ability of a species to use camouflage effectively can provide evolutionary advantage? Evolutionary advantage. Is that over here? Oh yeah, next generation. 5 to 6. 5 to 6. 5 through 6 over here. 27. I'm pretty sure I don't need to check these other two. I'm pretty sure. And I think I would actually. In the real test, I think I would. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. Stop. Not stop. I won't stop. I keep stopping the time, but I just want to add this plus 15. Passage indicates that compared with other functions, camouflage in plants has two functions. Wait, what? Compared with other functions of coloration in plants, camouflage in plants has been not common or something. What? Smaller number? That seems like doable. I don't remember this actually. So I'm using the answer choice to find my thing, but it would be over here, right? Ah, well studied, I see. Received little attention. 50, yeah, that's correct. That's in line 15. 2810. Stop. So, Joaquin, later, peace out. I'm looking at this, and my one tip for this, guys, is when you are... Notice what happened. I actually used the answer choice to find the answer, right? This is not ideal, okay? It's not ideal. What I just did was a very accelerated process elimination, using my gut feeling of like, what do I remember from the passage and what seems like it would be sensible, like what seems like it's reasonable. But you don't want to have to do that. You would ideally kind of remember that bit up front. Like you would know where to find it in the passage because your map of the passage is already pretty good. I had a decent map of the passage, so I knew when I saw D, I knew that I knew where I should be looking, but I didn't. And actually, even if I just read the question stem only, I probably could have gone back and double checked. So I might have made an error in my strategy. I got the right answer. I'm like 100% sure this is the right answer, but it's just that might not have been a very efficient way of going through that. Okay, so just know that. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Tiger and the moth. Tiger and the moth is for camouflage. Examples of animal species with characters analogous to, yeah. That's 2830. We can infer from the passage that the nutrient requirements of plants are not from fungus. It's from the... Ooh. It's limiting the plant's defensive options. Interesting. Because it's not consumption. Huh. 2905. Interest. Oh, evidence. Okay. When do we talk about that? That's over here when we go 1, 2, 3. Or no, over here. Free. There we go. 28 to 30. All right. That was interesting. Okay. Broader, 28. Broader range of possibilities. Free to adopt a broader range of what is free? Hang on. Because this plant is free. Okay, yeah. It has more options with coloration. It is more extensive is correct. Okay, a broader range, a more extensive range. That's 2955. Worked most nearly means 55. Worked. Eh? 55? Oh, 48. Sorry, I got distracted. This demonstrated that this camouflage actually functioned. Functioned is correct. 30-20. And figure 1, the percent reflectance of the flower petal was for light at a wavelength of 600. Okay, flower petal at 600. At 600, the flower petal is around 5. 30-45. Now I'm at 31. Which statement is best supported by the data in figure 1? Oh, that the bracts are almost exactly the leaf litter. No. The bract. Yeah. Cool. I was looking for bract leaf litter, but I saw the word differs. So 3110. According to figure 2, the mean proportion of floral stems with herbivore damage per plant intact bracts 2007 damage, okay, damage intact 2007, damage intact 2007 is over here 0.17. Cool. 3:1:45. Stop. Amazing. 10 minutes again. 10 minutes again. So I'm feeling pretty good because I didn't doubt any of these questions. There was one that was interesting. Yeah, but yeah, I didn't doubt any of them. So I'm gonna go straight into scoring and then to tips. All right, guys. Let's see. Where are we? We're at 22. 22. All right. I chose C, B, D, C, B, D are correct. A, B, C, A, C, B, D. Oh, A, B, C are correct. A, C, A, C, A are correct. D, B, D, B are correct. That's 11 for 11. Mofos. All right. Guys, my brother came back to the house from a Miami trip, so I just need to say hi to him and update him on his little dog. So I'm gonna take a quick 5-minute break. Guys, they're laughing. They're laughing behind the camera. My brother and his girlfriend are laughing behind the camera. All right, guys, I'll be right back after 5 minutes and finish off the 4th and 5th passage. Hey, what's up, guys? Had to say hi to my brother. Hadn't seen him for like 5 days. Also updated him on the pooping habits of our new dog, or his new dog, not my dog. So sorry about that little disruption there. I'm getting right back into it now. All right, so I just finished my scoring of the third passage, but I didn't do did I do my tips? I didn't do my tips for the third passage, so I'm going to do my tips right now. I don't think it's too hard, though. Just thinking. I think it's funny. I didn't notice that has received little attention, because that's the thing you should pay attention to, and I didn't. But when you first read this, when you're reading through the background of how you get to, of how these researchers got to their hypothesis in the first place, these details are really important to pick up on. Originally they were intending to look at something else, and then they kind of stumbled on this hypothesis, or this hypothesis is actually coming out of two competitive theories or whatever, or in this particular case, it's just an underdog, like it's an underdog story, like no one's been paying attention to this, but this one particular plant actually gets all of its resources from this fungus. So that's, so those are the kinds of details you should be keyed into when you first read. Oh, sorry. Keep doing this. I am a effing mess right now. Keep failing to do this. Okay, that's the screen. All right, you can see the screen now. So yeah, you should definitely be paying attention to these bits, right? This is the bit where it talks about the background, and it's an underdog, okay? And why this particular species is because all the fungus, so all the resources it needs to live, right? As in all the food that it needs to have is from the fungus, okay? So then you should notice that, that the bit about the pollinators is not covered yet, right? So those are all things that you should be keeping track of when you first read this passage, okay? Yes, you should be sensitive to it the very first time you read it, because you should kind of have a gut feeling for how science passages are structured, because there's a sort of code, there's like a way that we communicate as scientists, and so know that code. Okay, that's my first tip. Okay, in this particular bit, you should be understanding what the background was for this hypothesis, okay? And then second, as always, experiment design, be careful with experiment design, and you should notice, I had this reaction, I think, when I was reading this, like reflectance, that's so nerdy, we're just measuring just a number, measuring some number of how reflective something is. That's like I was a little let down, honestly, by the reflectance part of the experiment. I was like, what? Come on, there must be a much cooler experiment you could do. And then I was not dissatisfied, or I was not let down when I got to get to the second part of the experimental demonstration of how this actually works. Because I would not find this very convincing as a science experiment, if I only got the reflectance. So just know that there are two parts to this experiment, to this study, okay? There's the reflectance itself, and then there's the experimental bits in the design of this experiment. We have this thing that just sort of repeats from the first paragraph, so there's nothing very interesting there. The main thing to know is it's still the same person, it's Kluster. Oftentimes you'll actually have a different voice, someone else who's like, like a hype man. It's like, oh yeah, this is amazing, or like a negger. Is negger a word? I feel like I shouldn't say that. Someone who nags. I apparently these kinds of things can actually harm the algorithm on YouTube. Dude, that was so bad. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, that was so bad. Anyway, I'm spitting on myself. That was so bad. Guys, you know what I mean. Anyway. So, someone who is against or negates, right? Usually you have something like that. So it's actually kind of interesting that we only get the original author of the study. So that's something you should notice as well when you read it. But it's not super important. The final thing you really need to notice is the next. Like this goes back to the 1, 2, 3 from that first part of the passage, right? And then over here we get this new hypothesis. So this new hypothesis this follow-up hypothesis you should definitely be paying attention to. Okay, so those are my tips for this passage. Let's go into the fourth passage. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, right. So thankfully I already know a little bit about this, so it makes it easier for me. Stop. So my prediction right now is that Burke is going to be, because I know Burke is going to be unhappy about the French Revolution. And over here, we have some clues, okay, that even if you don't know the history, you should know it says tumultuous period right here, and reflections on the Revolution in France. So, and he's not French, he's British, right? So you should kind of know that he's reflecting on a tumultuous thing. So you should be ready for him to be either positive or negative, but if he's going to be positive, it has to be qualified positive. Like, oh, it's tumultuous, but here's this qualified positive argument I can make for the French Revolution. But if you know the history, you will know that Edmund Burke was not happy about the French Revolution, that the British government should not go down that path. So you would then be able to narrow the prediction to he's going to be against it, but why specifically he's going to be against it, now that's up to you, and it depends on your history knowledge. If for me, I would not have been able to guess why he's against it. I have read this once before. I don't really remember the content of it. The extent that I do remember is something like, let the French do what the French do. Let us do what's good for us and what aligns with us. I remember that. I think it's on the right side. And that's about as much I remember right now. Okay, so this is my second time reading this passage. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Making a government doesn't require wisdom or prudence, just power, obedience, and you're done. Giving freedom is easy. Giving freedom is easy. You don't need a guide, just let go of the... Stop. I read this recently. Oh, that's why I remember this so well. Okay. Guys, I read this recently. I don't think I recorded it when I read it, so I apologize. But this one is, I'm gonna remember this fairly well. So this will affect the passage. Okay, I'm still gonna go through it just like usual, but it will definitely affect how I go through this. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. It's not necessary. The guide only requires to let go, right? But to form a free government, free plus government, that is to temper, okay, these opposite elements of liberty and restraint requires much thought, reflection, and wisdom. I do not find this in the National Assembly. This is France, okay? Perhaps they are not so miserably... Wow. lots of that's a lot of shade they're throwing right there. But when but when the leaders choose to make themselves bidders at an auction of popularity, a popularity contest. Okay, France is just a popularity contest right now. They become flatterers. They become the tools of the people, not the guides of the people. If they want to limit and qualify our liberty, okay, a sort of restrained liberty, he will lose his popularity. People will attack him. Okay? Actually, this is a different part of the argument. This is a hypothetical part of the argument. Moderation would be stigmatized, and compromise would be considered betrayal. Wait, hang on, what? Until in hopes of preserving the credit which may enable to temper money. So anyone will be forced to, the engine is greater than that individual. It's hard for me to explain this in real time, so I'm just going to move on. But yeah. Am I so unreasonable to see nothing? Yeah, I remember this. Some good may have been done among infinite. If you destroy everything, you'll remove some grievance. Okay, so he is actually very against the French Revolution. Okay, not fully understanding. Oh, excuse me. Their improvements are superficial, but their errors are fundamental. Oh. My countryman is for the British. Okay. We should actually be recommending the British Constitution to our French neighbors. Okay? We, my countrymen, have an invaluable treasure in our British Constitution. Sure, they're not perfect. But to their own conduct. Ooh, interesting. We blame the people. I think our happy situation owing to our Constitution, but to the whole of it. We love the Constitution right now. Burke loves the Constitution, not doing well. Thanks to the fact that we could edit it to add to it. We should feel free to alter the Constitution, but in order to preserve the Constitution, okay? I should be led to my remedy by a great grievance in what I did. I should follow the example of our ancestors, okay? Our ancestors. Nearly as possible in the style of the building. We shouldn't stay away. We shouldn't try to demolish the building. We should stay. It's a metaphor. Caution, circumspection, a moral timidity of our forefathers, okay? Okay, big sarcastic bit. They, okay. You have to be, with these harder passages, you have to be very good. Okay, you have to be very good. This is generic. You have to be very good with connecting the subjects. Okay. The aeronauts are so funny. 38:25. Okay, stop. All right. I probably read that faster because I had read that before. Okay, I'm going to go into the questions now. Do I see any? Oh, I see some. What's up, subs? Hello. Got to do my homework. Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby. I actually want to do a Great Gatsby stream. I did a Romeo and Juliet some time ago. Great Gatsby is such a good book, and it's been years since I read it. I do want to do Great Gatsby. That'd be fun. Because every time I read it, I appreciate it. Like in my adulthood too. It's such a well-written novel. All right, let's get into the questions. 3, 2, 1, let's go. He's upset with the decision to, I don't remember this, seek approval with the public. I saw this, popularity, okay, but let me just double check. Yeah, seeking popularity up until 14, 15, right? Yeah, that's 38, 55. Instruments, tools of the people, tools of the people. I remember that from earlier. I literally said tools as I was reading it. Based on the passage, Burke believes that French leaders would be overwhelmed by the engine of their own making, right? So, sure. I don't know about brave, but A seems kind of interesting. Ignored seems kind of. It's almost certainly D, because brave I don't think comes out. They're going to be undermined. They're sensible. Okay, where's the evidence for this? If, okay, outbid, he's undermined. Okay, sober limit. Not brave. There's nothing brave. Okay, yeah, we're good. 39:55. Okay, here we go. Sober, as in moderate, right? That was. I just read it a little bit ago. 30. Defeat any sober purpose at which he might have aimed at any, reasonable, sure, moderate is kind of what I was looking for. 20. Central claim in the last paragraph is that the British have. That last paragraph is long, right? Yeah. That we should be looking to our own constitution. We should be looking to our own constitution and preserving our constitution. Revise rather than replace. Okay, yeah. Revise is a little strong. Past. Why? Oh, I see. We're talking about the past tense all here. Yeah. 40:55. Repair the building. Right, because this metaphor is about preserving, keeping in the same style, preserving. So, no, it should not be replaced. Change periodically to remain relevant. That's a little off. All governments have. Yeah, I see. Maintain. I was looking for preserving. 41:20. It's interesting. Even though I read this recently, I actually don't remember the answer choices. Displays the greatest respect for the Constitution. Or, okay, yeah, passionate. Yeah, this one. I actually remember struggling with this one last time when I actually read this for a bit. But yeah, the leaders. Wait, did I struggle with this one? I don't think I did. But anyway, it's in the top. It's in the middle, right? We have. Let's follow the examples of our ancestors. 70. Ooh. So is it 81 to 84 then? 81 to 84? Because that's the first time the ancestors come out, so it's not before. 81 to 84. Imitate their caution. Let's preserve what they have left. 84. Yeah, that sounds right. That's right. 41, 42, 15. And the scornful. He makes a lot of fun of them. All right. That is That is this passage. Guys, with this one, this was unrealistic because I have read this one. I did read this one in the last 2 weeks or so. It's pretty recent. And if I did record that video when I did this, but I don't think I did. If I did record it, then you would have had a more realistic video of me going through this. But sadly, I don't have that recording. So maybe a couple years from now. Yeah, that's the problem though. It's very unrealistic. I will never be able to show you my first time reading, or like something that's like my first time reading this passage. Okay, I apologize. For this, I'll go since I don't see any questions. I'll go right into the scoring. Here we go. 33. What did I choose? I chose CCBD. CCBD are correct. And 37, I chose DBD. DBD are correct. And then 40, I chose, 40, I chose BDA. BDA are correct. So that's 10 out of 10? That's 10 out of 10. It was a redo though. So yeah, this is a little unrealistic. Okay. So I'm about to get into the fifth and final passage. All right, guys, if you've been watching what may be my worst stream ever, thank you for making it this far. I feel the love. I love you guys too. All right, we're about to get into the fifth passage of probably the most messed up stream that I've ever put out there. But some of you guys have been telling me to not take this down, so I'm gonna stick with it. All right, here we go. Finish this off. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Blast in the past. That's interesting. Not blast to the past, but blast in the past. It's physics? Oh no, it's geology. The deep freeze, a 1,300-year deep freeze. Clovis hunters are the first people, and these are separated by 7 years. That's kind of interesting, actually. Oh, by the way, Michael Balter, this name might come out in the second passage, so got to be aware of that. I'm at 42.55. In Acapulco in 2007, multiple studies arguing that a comet or asteroid, okay, exploded above 13,000 years ago, 1,300, okay, 13,000, 1,300, showering debris, causing temperatures to plunge. This is the deep freeze. For the next millennium, that's the 1,300 years deep freeze, right? That its idea explains multiple observations. Not only, the cooling, this is the disappearance of the hunters, extinction of the large mammals. Okay, not all will be convinced. Okay. Which team was this? Okay. That whole group was a team. Ooh, already explained each. Some of these hypotheses. Ocean circulation, not comets. The cooling. Okay, ocean circulation, the younger Dryas. Okay. This cooling might in turn have caused the Clovis to disappear. And also the beasts. Okay, so we're saying that ocean circulation could have caused a deep freeze, which led to these other secondary effects. 44-40. Geochemical analysis of sedimentary layers. Oh, what? Oh, ocean. Okay. Debris formed by extraterrestrial. What? Oh, the team, the team. Oh, I see, I see. This is going back to the team. Oh my god, that was trippy. Okay. Black layers of carbonized material. Wildfires. After the impact. Okay. 45, 45. So this is the previous people. That's the same as a team. Okay. Iridium, right? We have this iridium. Diamonds. I don't know if we had diamonds before, but carbon and diamonds seems kind of similar, right? Nanodiamonds. And magnetic particles. Magnetic particles is magnetic. Do we have that earlier? Glass? Carbonized? Okay, whatever, I don't know. So that's new. Dated to about in this geochemical analysis. These claims were contested. However, who did not detect the evidence or argued that had the other causes, for example, nanodiamonds are common, now comes the strongest attack yet on that hypothesis is 7 years later by David Meltzer. Dating of sites, okay, the dating of sites, an archaeologist, so this is not geochemical, in which impact of cosmic collisions. Sites in sophisticated stone projectiles called Clovis points. Only 3 of the 29 fall within the time frame of the younger diets. And they were earlier or later, sorry, by hundreds of years. Fails on both theoretical and empirical, says Meltzer. Meltzer is this guy, right? Yeah. Popular. Yeah. The giant chunks, you're being simplistic. Basically clobbering the planet with a broad appeal makes Hollywood movies about. Yeah. This is kind of dismissive as to other forms of stunt. So this is an interesting thing. This, according to this, it's cooling to extinct to disappearing. Okay, of clothes. Okay, and this is the mammals. Interesting. That's different from the previous ideas that came out so far. Okay, this is not the same as the writer of the previous one. Hang on. What? Sorry. I'm moved by the new study. We still. Radiocarbon dating is a perilous process, he contends. Presence of just under the claimed iridium is a more reliable I don't fully understand the reasoning here, but sure. And radiocarbon dating must be criticizing this, right? Yeah. I see. That's radiocarbon. Okay. The 4950. Stop time. Stopping time and giving you my summary. Now, like I said, Actually, I don't really remember this passage at all. I must have read it, because if I read the other 4 passages once before, and I read this history passage twice before, then I must have also read this one before. So I must have read this one before. I don't remember it like at all, really, because it's like really dense and complex. So yeah, it just doesn't stick in my head. So this one is basically like out of this stream, the only one that's really unrealistic is the history one, because I read that one recently, maybe 2 weeks ago. So all the other ones I read it once before, but didn't really remember most of them. So it's more or less realistic. Now I'm looking at these two passages, and I'm just going to go through my summary of these two. I want you guys to also compare your summary with mine. Here we go. Passage 1 is by this guy who never gets mentioned in passage 2, but I just, circled his name. By this guy who talks about a team of people at Acapulco. Okay, a bunch of people that came together and built out this hypothesis that the Younger Dryas hypothesis of like an asteroid or comet causing the three things basically simultaneously. What are these three things? Cooling. Oh, is it simultaneously or was it? No, secondary effects. Sorry. It causes the cooling, which then causes the other two. Cooling of the Earth, a precipitous drop in the temperature of the Earth. So it freezes, lasts a whole millennium. Then two things, the extinction of these large mammals and also the disappearance of the Clovis tribes, Clovis hunters. Okay, so that's the original model. I'm 90% sure that that's the sequence that we're talking about. The one thing causes the other two things. Okay. Then after that, we get into not everyone being convinced. So the flip side of that. Not everyone's convinced. We'll be convinced because there's this other hypothesis about like ocean circulation, and we described that for a bit. And I think there's some details, but I don't fully remember them. Okay. And then after that, it talks about how it goes back to the team and their hypothesis, which for some reason I wasn't tracking very well. So it took me a while to figure out what we were talking about. It was worth figuring it out though, so that my map is good. Okay, if I finished reading that passage thinking that it was about the opposition instead of the original team, then it would have been very bad. So I went back and I figured out that we're talking about the team, and what they used was geo something. They used some technique, and they found iridium, carbon, glass, and stuff like that, and within a certain time period, which is supposed to make sense. Okay, so that was their finding, and that's the end. Then the second passage starts at the bottom of that column, where we talk about these findings, the carbon, the nanodiamonds, the iridium and the nanodiamonds, which I think is the carbon, doesn't mention glass, mentions this third other thing, but whatever, okay, has led to this conception that is debatable and is being strongly contested by this new group. Okay, now we're at the kind of the top middle of the next column, and this new group is dismissive. Okay, there's this guy, I forget his name, I forget his initials. He's dismissive. He's like, oh, it's popular conception because it's an easy, simplistic explanation. I don't know if this comes out in the bottom or in the top. I might be mixing up the order of it. But then the actual thing that they do is they research by using radiocarbon dating. This is an archaeological team, which is not the same as the geochemical, right? Geochemical was the previous process, and this is archaeological. And this archaeological team is looking up the sites, and they find that only 3 out of 29 sites. Oh, my computer just went to dark mode, and I thought it was shutting down. I flipped out for a second. Sorry. So it turned out that these sites that were mentioned in the geochemical studies are only 3 of them actually match up on time, apparently. Okay. After that, in the third column, in the bottom of the second column, and top of the third column, it talks about this weird it talks about the position of the original team. Okay, forgot his name, but there's a guy, and they say that there's this thing about what's more reliable data, and about how there's like these layers of something, but I don't fully understand the logic. So I'm gonna get back to that when a question actually asks me about it. I'm not gonna go figure it out right now. All right, so that's my summary of the passage. How did your summary compare to mine? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, I'm about to get into the questions now. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Best support for the claim that the impact hypothesis is not the only one. And this is in passage 1. I just want to double check what passage I'm supposed to be looking at, and it's around here because of not all will be convinced. 5. So line 15 is this other leading hypotheses. 14. Line 14. 15. Okay. Wait, that's kind of awkward. So let me just double check. Okay, 15 to 17 makes sense. Yeah. And then this is the next paragraph, so they're totally wrong. Based on passage 1, I'm at 5045. Okay, based on passage 1, which hypothetical discovery would provide the most support for the impact hypothesis? Hypothetical discovery. Okay, so I have to imagine what would support the impact hypothesis. Okay, I have to read these one by one, because what I'm looking for the impact hypothesis is basically, no, I shouldn't just go right into it. Based on passage 1 is the question. Certain features of the layers contain debris formed by extraterrestrial impact too high to be originating on Earth. Also black layers of wildfires. Wildfire. So maybe something that proves that there's something that wildfires occurred thanks to the impact. Okay, I'm looking for wildfires first, just double checking. Okay, I don't see anything about wildfires, so I'm going to move on to, forgetting that part, I'm going to focus on the action beneath the northern ice cap contains level high in radiation has dated well after. Nope. Appear at multiple points in geo. Never in this works. Never in conjunction, so that makes this unique. No, that would just be unhelpful. Osmium, what? Oh. That is not the same. Based on passage 1, but more support for the impact hypothesis. $13,000 years ago. Whoa. B and D. Whoa. 25. 9 of them Clovis. $13,000 years ago. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. Ooh, that one's kind of tricky. It's kind of interesting. That seems not typical for SAT. All right. According to passage 1, the team believes that the black carbonized material found in certain sedimentary fires. 53 to 30. 53-30. Okay. 42 sharply, precipitously. 40. Wait, am I 42? 42. Sharply, strongly contested. Okay, strongly contested. 53-50. Okay. Meltzer and his team relied on what evidence to challenge? Archaeological and the dates. Reevaluation of the dates. Okay. Maybe. That seems like the only one that makes sense. But was it the dating? Ah, it was the dating. Oh, I kind of misread it the first time. Okay. Looks at the dating of the 29 sites. Radiocarbon. Oh, that's why radiocarbon dating is okay. I see. They're double checking the math basically. Yeah, that's correct. I actually did not fully understand that when I so I had to use the answer choices to figure that better. So that's over here. That was at what was I looking at? 55. 55 is the best, most direct one. Hopefully that's the correct answer. Come on, come on. 55 doesn't show up. So after that is 62, 69. So that's the only one that seems reasonable. 62, 69. Yep. Okay. So that is 55, 45. And more nuanced, contrasts simplistic. So yeah, yeah. I mean that's kind of like you kind of don't even need to look at the passage for that one. Which statement best describes? That's kind of a weird question. Kind of wish they didn't ask that question. Which statement best describes? Just to fully explain my, I stopped the time just to fully explain my comment. I kind of wish they didn't ask that question because that's almost a straightforward vocab question. That's like kind of silly. Wish I see what they're doing by forcing you to look, but you don't need to. That's the thing is you don't need to look at. And this is not typical. It's not a typical ICD question. So I feel like they could have used. Honestly, a regular vocab and context question for nuance would have been perfectly fine. I think that would be something that would actually test your vocab better, because this doesn't need you to understand vocab besides basic definitions. So it's kind of a silly question. 3, 2, 1, let's go. The relationship between the two, they're on opposite sides, but they present evidence. Okay, let's see. A critique, it does present a critique. Okay, it doesn't directly critique, but it does present a critique. Yeah, that makes sense. Explains the question. That could make sense. I can come back to this. Nope. Nope. For now, I'm pretty confident it's A, but I want to come back to this. So I'm gonna circle. As not universally accepted. Difficult to conclude. It's kind of iffy. Controversial is also a little iffy. More appealing, this only happens in passage 2. Let's double check passage 1's tone. Are they saying controversial? Maybe. Are they saying difficulty valued the evidence? No. So let me just double check that question again. Yeah, passage 1 doesn't do B, so controversial is kind of strong, but yeah, I'll work with it. 5810. If the findings are accurate, passage 2, what can be inferred about the glass and carbon mentioned in passage 1? So let's go find this findings, which is in the bottom over here. Okay. No. Oh, we're over here. Oh, I actually did misremember it. This came, yeah, when I was doing my summary, I organized it backwards. So Meltzer found only 3 fall within the time frame they're drying, so I said either earlier or later. The glass and carbon spherules must have come from other sources. Yeah. Yeah, that's wow, that's a little too straightforward. Why are these questions so easy? Kind of wish they had a couple harder questions. All right. Well, I think that's that. So let me go. I'm going to keep the time running and just go back to that one question that I want to double check. The question addressed in that central hypothesis. It explains. No, it doesn't explain. Okay. Does this even make any sense? Explains the question addressed by the hypothesis. A hypothesis is a question, which is like the question of the question. We're explaining the question. What? Yeah, but it doesn't explain. It's just showing an opposite position. Yeah. So I'm just overthinking that one. So that's 60.05. So that's 60.05 for the end. 60.05. Stop. Reset. Now I am going to finish this off by scoring and then giving tips. Where's my scores? All right. 143, I chose BD. BD are correct. CCA are correct. DBA are correct. And DA are correct. So that's 11 for 11. That means I got 51 out of 52. And that 51 was a silly error. The only one that I had like artificial inflation on was passage 4 on the history passage. So let's say that I got 1 wrong on that one, then I would have had 50 out of 52. If I got 2 wrong, then I would have 49 out of 52. So that was that. I also finished this with a lot of extra time, mainly because I had read the history passage before, and also because I did the second and third passage pretty quick. So we were making good time on all of that. For this particular passage, what tips could I give? It's hard, but just take your time with it. How much time did I take? From 42:25 to 49:50, I took 7 minutes and 25 seconds to read that. So that's a lot longer than other passages, a lot longer. So that means that from 42:25, I actually spent 42:25 to 60:05. Oh, I spent 17 minutes on that and 30 seconds. 17 minutes and 40 seconds on that. Holy crap. That's why the questions were easy to me, because I spent 17 minutes on it. Oh, because oh man. Now, interesting. This test, so realistically, let's actually say that even though I had 5 minutes extra, let's say that I actually had spent 5 additional minutes on the history passage, 30, okay, because how much time did I spend on the history passage? 32 minutes to, I only spent 10 minutes. Let's say I spent 15 minutes on that. Then I would have felt a little more stressed. That might have led to an actual error in the, I went through that really fast. Oh, really? That took a whole 17 minutes. But it's crazy how obvious the answers are when you have time. Or at least on this particular passage. But yeah, I think that just emphasizes the importance of having 10 finishing the early passages in 10 minutes. So my sort of guide is 10, 10, 13, 13, 13. But I might actually, you know what? I think the ideal is something more like 10, 10, 12, 15, 15. And if you do the math on that, if you do 10, 10, 12, 15, 15, sorry, 20 plus 12 plus 30 is 62. Okay. Huh. 10 plus 10 plus 13 plus 16 plus 16, right? Would that work? 10, 10, 13, 16, 16 might be a more realistic sort of guideline for how many minutes you should be spending on each passage, assuming that you don't want a buffer at the end. 10, 10, 13, 16, 16. Huh. I don't know. For me, I don't want to, because if I say 10, 10, 13, 16, 16, because harder to remember in the test. So my sort of guideline is you want to have, at least one 10-minute passage, and then keep 10, 10, 13, 13, 13, I think makes it pretty easy to remember, because if you do 10, 10, 13, 13, 13, then you actually have 6 minutes of leeway. And then that means you can spend the 6 minutes on one of the emergency passages that you kind of get screwed on. So I think that's actually an easier way. I don't think I want to change my recommendation. I think 10, 10, 16, 10, 10, 13, 13, 13 with plus 6 minutes of leeway is a easier way of thinking about it. Yeah. Yeah. It makes it easier to calculate as you go. So I'm not going to change my recommendation for the 10, 10, 13, 13, 13 plus 6. Tips for this passage. Tips for this passage is so yeah, I mean, the main thing is to basically have parentheses around this paragraph to show the opposite ideas. But this last paragraph is definitely connected to, the new evidence, right, is from this argument, is the thing that's helping with this argument, okay? So you should be able to connect that by more or less having mental parentheses around that paragraph, okay? And then you should always, whenever there are details in science, you should try to examine the details of the thing, because, okay, especially when it's like this two passage. There must be a better way for to calling this thing. But when there's two passages and you have to kind of compare them, you should be able to look at. Yeah, you should be able to force you have to look for fights between the two. So yeah, draw those connections like I did for these passage. In the end, the key thing is to really understand. I think I did a bad job of this, but when you read this particular experiment, you should be understanding the design of the experiment and how it's different from the design of the previous experiment. The design of the previous study is to look at the geochemical analysis, right? So that's basically carbon analysis, and I thought it was not the same, but actually it is the same, because it's looking at the dating. And because I misread that, it created a lot of inefficiency, which probably is why I ended up doing 17 minutes instead of something closer to like 15, 16 minutes. So yeah, this confusion led to this later confusion over here. Okay, this confusion led to this later confusion. So I was being overconfident. I was reading that too quickly. So my tip is to, the strongest attack, again, pay attention to the methodology, okay? Pay attention to the design of the experiment, the design of the study, because it really helps you to kind of sort out like what the arguments might be, okay? So I went through that way too quickly. And then, yeah, this little bit of snark, just know it. They're making fun of the hypothesis to some extent. Not making fun of, but they're being snarky about that hypothesis. So just know that. And then have this new voice that talks about the reliability of the evidence on both sides. So just know that happens. I feel like my tips here aren't like super clear compared to the previous passages. I think I'm just getting a little tired. So if you feel like my tips, hey, if you guys can do one up me on my tips, just write them in the comments below. I feel like that wasn't the best tips for this particular passage. I'm gonna try it one more time, just do a quick summary version. But basically, okay, know the opposition, know the name of the opposition, okay? Because you should be, even though they don't actually ask about, or ocean circulation doesn't even come out in the questions, okay? But you should still be aware of it. You should still be aware of it. You should be able to package it neatly in your map. And then focus on the details here. Because, why? Even if you don't know the questions, even though if you don't know what questions will come out, like this is the only part where we talk about the actual evidence, okay? So it's the only detailed part really of this whole passage, so you should pay some attention. It might come out in the second passage, and it does come out in the second passage right away. Then, when we go into the attack, okay, really consider what the actual methodology was. How are they attacking? Okay, don't just know that they're on opposite sides. It's not good enough to know that they're on opposite sides. You have to know how the attack is carried out. So what's their reasoning? Okay, it's basically because of the dating issues. Okay, then just know this dismissal. You don't have to take too much time on this, and then have this weird little qualification from the outside, and just be able to categorize that in your map. Okay, so those are my tips for this passage. Guys, that was the April 2019 school day. I'm gonna settle on my schedule. I'm gonna update my schedule for what SAT QASs to stream coming up this week and maybe even up till next week. So I'll be streaming some more QASs. And up right now, I think if you look at the description, it's pretty minimal. I think I only have 1 or 2 more QASs coming up in the lineup. If you have requests, make your requests in the Discord server. It's a little faster way of communicating with me. And just know that I will be giving priority to students who have tutoring sessions with me this week. Okay, so if they have requests for QASs that they want me to review before our tutoring sessions, I'm going to prioritize them. And then anyone else who made a request, I'll be adding them to the list. Okay, so how much am I going to stream during the summer? So I cannot promise anything at the moment, but my summer teaching schedule is extremely busy. So I think I will just commit to a public answer of probably 0. Probably no streaming at all, okay? Because I have, if you, actually, I guess I probably should just advertise, but the thing is the details aren't, I don't even know the details yet, but I work with an organization, so there's gonna be an online thing that I don't know the details of yet, but besides the online thing, I'm going to be doing local classes as well, so that makes my schedule pretty busy. And yeah, I'm hesitating to answer just because my details are all sort of garbled because it's actually not all set down. But the short answer is I'm actually pretty busy. I will not be able to stream during the summer. I want to stream during the summer. I want to just to keep it going, but I don't think it's realistic. So that's my initial answer. That said, I think you might be able to, if you and your parents are willing to pay, you might be able to get some more access to me through paid classes. You don't have to, because I'll be doing the streaming again in the fall. But if you want paid classes, I will be able to share details on that for an online paid class sometime in the future. But not today. I don't have the details right now. Yeah, I think, I mean, there's no real difference between, the only real difference between watching it live and watching a rerun of my streams is that you don't get to ask me questions in real time. And so when you leave comments, like, I'll just be slow to answer. That's the only real difference. So yeah, I think watching the live streams, in fact, I think one of the big benefits of watching a rerun is that you can watch it at like 2.0 speed, 2x speed, and speed it up, and then kind of jump around to the parts that you really need. So I think for most kids, if they watch like 2 or 3 live streams of me, making mistakes and sometimes doing well, you kind of get the gist. You know how I do it, right? I do it by reading the thing first and then predicting my answers when trying to predict the answers instead of relying on A, B, C, D to help me with the answer. I try to just know my answer before going into A, B, C, D. I try to bring a gun to the gunfight. I don't try to go empty-handed, right? Don't bring a knife to the gunfight, right? Is the saying. So I mean, that's my approach. So if you watch like 2 or 3 live streams, that's good enough to really understand the approach. And then after that, it's practice and see how you can tweak my approach to make it work for you. So yeah, go and review as much of my live streams as is helpful. I'm actually, if anything, I would actually flip the question back on you. My question is, how many of my live streams do you watch until you feel like, oh, that's enough. I don't need to watch any more live streams. I'm actually curious what's helpful. I would like to know the answer. Like Dark later on when you do more of your studyings, and I would actually really appreciate it if like 2 or 3 months down the line, after you feel more confident in your SATs, I'd be really curious to hear what really helped you, what helped you the most. All right, guys, that's it from now. I have to eat dinner and then go off to a different meeting. So, hey, take it easy. Forgive yourself for your mistakes and learn the most that you can. Every single mistake that you make, right? And a mistake, by the way, is not just getting something wrong. A mistake is also getting something right, but doing it in an inefficient way, right? So any mistake that you make, learn the most that you can and keep on growing every day. Guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.